So in my time of reviewing cars, I've driven a couple of cargo vans. Most of the time they've been empty, sometimes loaded down with stuff. In 2017, I drove the Mercedes Metris, which is kind of the younger cousin to this. But this is the first time I've driven the big passenger van loaded in with seats and everything. This is the 170-inch high roof Sprinter 2500. So this isn't your normal vehicle. This isn't going to be your straightforward normal review that we do. We're going to touch a little bit on the trims and what you can get here. We'll look a little bit on the exterior, but inside what really counts with this vehicle. So we're going to do a lot inside this car. Let's get into it. So there are endless ways you can configure a cargo van, a Sprinter van. First of all, you have both the Metris and the Sprinter. The Metris, like I said, is the smaller kind of version of a Sprinter. For the Sprinter, you can get a cargo van, a crew van, a passenger van, or the cab chassis. For the passenger vans, like we have here, you have a 1500 or a 2500. Again, this is the 2500. You can get a 144-inch wheelbase or the 170-inch wheelbase like we have here. And finally, you get 3 different powertrains to choose from, which we'll jump into when we look under the hood of this one. So starting off with the exterior here, new for this year model, they have increased visibility with new LED headlights. You got that Mercedes grille right up front, the classic Sprinter van look. The wheels here are 16-inch wheels with some special requested tires. Again, along the side, this is just a massive van. You get a sliding door, but only on the passenger side, not on the driver's side. And along the back, again, you get LED taillights for this model year. You get that 2500 badge, the Sprinter badge, and those big rear doors. You can also see the camera towards the top of those rear doors that give you the 360 view on this thing, which we'll talk more about when we get inside. So talking about the size of this thing, overall dimensions, this thing has a 170-inch wheelbase, that's from wheel to wheel, but overall length is 274.3 inches. And then our total width here, including the mirrors, is 92.3 inches, and our total height is 113.5 inches. All right, so let's check out what's under the hood here. So under the hood here is a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It produces 188 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque, and is matched up to a 9-speed automatic transmission. Your other engine option for the Sprinter is a 6-cylinder diesel engine, producing also 188 horsepower and matched up to a 7-speed automatic transmission. And for the 144-inch wheelbase, not for this big 170-inch wheelbase, you can get that same 6-cylinder diesel engine with a 4x4 powertrain. These are all rear-wheel drive. So this one is a 2019, and after playing with the configurator online, it looks like the 2020, you can only get that V6 diesel for the 170-inch wheelbase, but this is a 2019 and has that 4-cylinder under the hood. Also, you have a max payload of 3,307 pounds. Your max available gross weight is 9,480 pounds, and the curb weight is 6,173 pounds. Also, your fuel tank here is a 22-gallon fuel tank. All right, with that, let's check out what's in the very rear of this thing. So again, you have these huge rear doors back here that open up like barn doors. They can go fold all the way back like this. You got a nice grab handle to get in. Ugh. So interior standing height is 75.5 inches. That's about 6'3". I'm 6'1", and I definitely can stand up in this with no problem with a couple of inches above me. The interior cargo length is 178.5 inches, or almost 15 feet. And as you can see, we have 13 total seats. We have 3 rows of 3, 1 row of 4, and then you have your driver and passenger seat. That makes this a total of 15 passengers. All right, now let's open up the side door and check out those rear seats. So you can pull on the handle and open up the door if the vehicle is unlocked. You also have the key here with a button to open up that side door. We also have a step that swings out for us to help get into the back of this vehicle, and a little grab handle. All right, so all the way back here in the 4th row, it's a pretty decent place to sit. It's a little bit tight for me. Again, I'm 6'1". It's a little bit tight for me, but I could handle it. You also get USB-C charging ports on every row, which we'll show a little bit more. But let's move up one more row. Now we're in the 3rd row. You get a little bit more as far as knee room goes than the previous row. The seats are still really nice, really comfortable. You also get in this row and every row forward, you get cup holders built into the rows, and of course those USB-C charging ports. And again, this is a massive vehicle, lots of rows, lots of seating. We're now in the 2nd row. And finally up here in the front row, still a 3-seater across, still nice leather seats. Obviously a lot more knee room here, so if you got the big passengers, you want them to be up here. You still got USB-C connectors and some speakers back here. And again, your only exit here is on the passenger side and not on the driver's side. Although this window is an emergency exit, in case anything happens, you do have bars to pop that window out for an emergency. All right, so enough back here. Let's check out the driver's position. So one of the first things to say in this thing is that these seats are actually really comfortable, as well as the steering wheel position. I've been in some other cargo vans where the steering wheel position or the seat isn't that comfortable and you don't want to be driving it a lot. This one seems like it would be pretty easy for longer trips or driving a lot. You also get a lot of storage up here. So you got storage way up here in front of the steering wheel. You get a storage bin up here in the center with your USB Type-C ports for connecting your phone. There are 3 of them up there. You get another storage compartment up here with some cup holders. And this one's also equipped with optional storage up here above the driver's seat and passenger seat, just for extra storage. This does have a decent audio system in here. You do get 5 speakers up front and 8 total speakers in the rear. Tech-wise, this thing does have some pretty good tech in it. You have the Mercedes-Benz User Experience, or MBUX, with an optional 7-inch display or a 10.25-inch touchscreen display. And this is pretty nice and matches with a lot of the other Mercedes products, which I think is really nice. You get the same kind of information system that you get in other Mercedes products. Other than the touchscreen, a lot of your other options are physical buttons, and they all feel really nice. And right here in the center, you do get a button to open up that side door. And behind the steering wheel, you do get a driver's information display that can be toggled through different settings to make sure that you're seeing what you need to see as a driver. And there are a few different ones to look through. You also get good safety features like blind spot assist. You get active lane keeping assist, park assist, traffic sign assist, and crosswind assist, where this thing will actually level out the suspension when it feels heavy winds hitting the side of the vehicle. You also do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integrations into this system, which works just like you would expect. Another really great thing about this, having a big vehicle, it's always nice having that 360 view. This one does have the 360 view when you throw it in reverse, so you know exactly where your nose is, where your back end is, where your sides are if you're in a parking spot well, and you get some guides that help you out there as well. All right, so let's talk about how this thing drives. And it's a little bit noisy, a little bit loud, a little bit more wind noise. Obviously it's a big vehicle, but compared to other cargo vans that I've driven, it's actually it's a lot more quiet in here and a lot more reasonable for day-to-day driving. As far as putting this on the road and driving it, it's actually a pretty easy vehicle to drive. I haven't hit a curb, I haven't bumped up against anything on the side thinking that I wasn't turning wide enough. It's very easy to control. You do have a lot back there that you got to consider, but for the most part, it's been really easy out on the road, up on the highway, and even back on some really tight, curvy roads. Another thing that aids in the ease of drive of this vehicle is all of the safety features we already talked about. Love having that 360 camera, so when you're backing up, you get a really good view of around this big vehicle. You know exactly where your nose is and the back is. You know how wide it is, and if you're fitting into a lane well. You have those radars that help guide you if you need it. Up on the highway, you do have cruise control, lane keep assist. You have radar guided cruise control that will keep you a certain distance from the vehicle in front of you. All the tech in here really makes this a much easier vehicle to drive, even though it's enormous. And I'll admit that driving this thing at first made me a bit nervous. It's one of the bigger vehicles that I've ever driven, but after only an hour or so behind the wheel, I'm really comfortable with it, and I feel like this could be something that I drove every day in pretty much every situation, which is good to know if we ever go for the whole van life stuff. Again, we'll touch on that towards the end. One thing that I do notice, and maybe you guys notice through the microphones, that it is a bit of an echoey cabin. It is big and wide open, and you can definitely hear yourself talking, kind of an echo throughout the cabin. Of course, when you get more people in here, it's a little bit better. This is definitely a lot better than the just empty cargo van, but the more stuff that you put in here and the more people that are in here, that helps. When the kids were in here, one of them made a good point that they wish it had one of the touch to talk features, kind of like the new Palisade has and the Highlander has, where you could hit a button up here in the front and there's speakers in the back that the passengers in the back could talk back and forth through. But I don't really think that's that necessary. First of all, if you're buying this for a party bus kind of thing where the passengers aren't really talking to the driver, but even if you are, it's not that hard to hear people in the back, mainly because of that extra echo. So I don't know how to really fairly judge this thing on fuel economy, if that's even a huge concern of somebody buying it. I'm sure it's a little bit of a concern because gas can be expensive, and this thing has a 22-gallon tank like we've mentioned, so filling it up is going to be expensive. I haven't driven it a ton, and I definitely haven't driven it in situations that this thing will actually be used in, so it's hard to determine. But I can tell you that throughout the week we're averaging 15.9 miles to the gallon, and we already went through some of the EPA ratings. So another quick thing to touch on is acceleration in this thing. Obviously it's not going to be a 0 to 60 monster, but even with that turbocharged 4-cylinder and only hitting around 190 horsepower, this thing does have some pretty good get up and go. When you put the pedal down, it does get up and go, and you don't ever feel really sluggish. You don't feel like you're causing a lot of traffic or holding traffic up. By driving a big, slow vehicle, this thing can get up and go and keep up with traffic just fine. Of course, I'm not used to sitting up as high with a big open greenhouse, and the perception of speed is a lot different than when you're down in a car or even in an SUV. So I find myself driving a bit slower in this thing than I normally would, but I feel like I'm going just as fast. So that's interesting. But of course, the more you drive it, the more you get comfortable with it, the better that will be for you. Comparing the seating position to other cargo vans that I've driven, I can definitely say this is a very comfortable one. This one and the Ford are pretty comfortable. I still have issues driving the ProMaster, the Ram ProMaster. The way that the steering wheel sits, it's more like a bus where it's almost flat, and I don't like that. But this one, very comfortable seats. I can definitely see driving this for a long time or long distances, no problem. All right, and so let's talk about price, then we'll wrap this video up. First of all, the base cargo van option of this is only $33,790. The base passenger van is $42,990, and our total MSRP on this is just over $65,000, and that's including all of the seats and all of the extra options that we have here. So one other thing before we wrap it up is I'm really into the whole van life stuff, and this is one of the perfect vans if you're talking about van life. Obviously, you don't want the passenger van with these seats in it, but with the passenger van, you actually get the AC system throughout the van, unlike the cargo van, which is definitely a plus. And actually, the pricing on these things aren't as astronomical as you would think. They're decently priced. And again, I just really enjoy a lot of the van life stuff. If you're in the DFW area and you have a van built out and you'd like me to come check it out, hit me up in the comments. I might come check out your van. But with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're not already, and thanks for watching the video, guys.